There's that saying, often linked to Henry Kissinger, to be America's enemy may be dangerous, but to be America's friend is fatal. It's pretty chilling when you think about it today. We're going to examine how some people argue that sentiment is really playing out right now, especially in the whole U.S.-China dynamic, and what it means for, well, even America's closest allies. We'll look into the strategies involved, trade, tech, even farming, diplomacy, and just how this rivalry is, fundamentally reshaping things globally. And look, if you're keen to really get a handle on these complex global power shifts, I genuinely recommend subscribing to Geopolitics Gazette. They offer some great ongoing in-depth analysis.
Yeah, it's quite stark when you look at the immediate consequences for U.S. allies. Take Japan, for example. There was that huge political instability recently, right? And it was directly linked to this massive trade deal. We're talking $550 billion demanded from Japan. And the U.S. basically calls the shots on the projects, takes 90% of the returns. I mean, 90%. You had people inside Japan saying these terms felt worse than, post-World War II subjugation.
Worse than post-war. That's a powerful comparison. And it wasn't just Japan, right? South Korea, too.
Exactly. South Korea saw huge outrage over their own $350 billion agreement. Remember the story about the 300 Hyundai technicians being apprehended? That caused real questioning about the alliance itself. So these aren't just like isolated business deals gone wrong. They really show a kind of fragility in Washington's partnerships, maybe a very transactional view. And you can bet Beijing is watching this very, very closely.
That really paints a picture of, well, unease among allies. Okay, so if that's the ripple effect, let's talk about China's own strategy, this idea of an attrition war, particularly in tech, Silicon Valley. The U.S.-China trade talks are always tense. But China made a specific move against Nvidia recently, didn't they? Nvidia, the giant in graphics chips, AI. What exactly happened there?
Right. So China's antitrust authority, they reopened an investigation into Nvidia's 2020 merger with Mellanox. That acquisition was key for Nvidia's data center and AI ambitions. They're claiming violations of the conditions set back then, specifically about supplying their high-performance GPU accelerators, the things you need for AI. But here's the really interesting twist. These conditions were technically breached because of U.S. export controls.
Wait, so the U.S. rules forced Nvidia into a position where they couldn't meet the Chinese conditions?
Essentially, yes. It puts Nvidia in this impossible situation. The potential fines are huge, maybe 1 to 10% of their China revenue, which is around $17 billion. But it's more than just fines. China's also using this sort of shadow ban, quietly telling state-backed firms to freeze Nvidia orders, buy local instead. It's a way to choke off the market without a big public announcement.
And that directly helps Chinese competitors like Huawei and Alibaba.
Precisely. It boosts Huawei, their rising chip company, and others like Alibaba involved in chip development. It's not just about market share. It's a calculated move. Undermine U.S. tech dominance, build up their own ecosystem. It's strategic.
That's incredibly strategic, almost like playing chess on a global scale. And as we keep peeling back these layers, really understand these moves is vital. Seriously, if these insights are clicking for you, make sure you subscribe to Geopolitics Gazette. It's crucial for staying updated. Now let's shift gears a bit. From high-tech battles to something, well, more down to earth. Farming. How does this strategy play out in America's heartland? Soybeans, for instance.
Yeah, it connects directly. China's leverage isn't just in Silicon Valley. It reaches right into American agriculture. Soybeans are a prime example. U.S. farmers used to count on China as their biggest customer now. They're facing really devastating times. We've seen Chinese imports of U.S. farm goods drop, from $42 billion down to about $30 billion. That's a big hit. And what China did, very strategically, was pivot. They started buying heavily from Brazil, from Argentina. Brazil's share jumped massively, right? From about 14% in 2016 to like 70% now.
70% from Brazil.
Yeah.
So U.S. farmers are just left.
Left with unharvested fields, yeah. Projections show farmers potentially losing around $100 an acre this year. And look, this isn't just numbers on a page. It's an economic crisis for those communities, and it becomes a domestic political headache for Washington. Every lost shipment can feel like lost votes.
So pressuring allies, tech warfare, weaponizing soybeans, it feels like a pattern. Dependence on the U.S. is being framed, or maybe exploited, as a vulnerability. And looking even broader, diplomacy, critical minerals. China's Belt and Road Initiative keeps building influence, doesn't it? Lots of countries seem to be looking towards Beijing now, while the U.S. is perhaps struggling to hold on to some traditional alliances.
That's a fair assessment. And then you have the rare earth minerals issue. That's almost the ultimate leverage point.
Because they're essential for everything.
Yeah.
Phones, defense tech.
Everything. And Beijing has such dominant control over that supply chain. It gives them leverage that Washington finds really hard and expensive to counter. Reshoring those supply chains is a massive, costly effort, and it's reactive. So when you put it all together, what you see is Beijing playing a very patient, very methodical long game. They seem focused on actual dominance in key areas like AI, semiconductors, not just, catching up. And Washington's response often looks fragmented, sometimes reactive, and frequently, as we saw with Japan and South Korea, pretty costly to its own friends. Which brings us right back to that Kissinger quote.
It really does. So the big question for all of us watching this unfold is, what does it really mean? For the world, for alliances, for the future. When the rules of the game are seemingly being rewritten right in front of us, we genuinely love to hear what you think. Drop your points of view in the comments below. And of course, for more perspectives like this, do remember to subscribe to Geopolitics Gazette.